In previous classes, we talked about silencing our thoughts, quieting our emotions, creating a wall between our conscious mind and subconscious mind. And we're doing this to prevent these thoughts and feelings from disturbing us. But we really need to speak more about what these thoughts and feelings really are. They're thought forms, and we can classify them in two different categories. The first category is the most common one. 80% of all thought forms are of this kind. They're basically an emotional thought form, which means they have way more emotion in them, or desire, than they do thought. And the second kind is a true thought-emotion form, which has mostly thought with very little emotion. The problem about the common kind, the emotional thought forms, is we may have a desire, and then we use the mind, the thought part, and we enslave it to serving the desire. This puts emotion on top of thought, when thought should be the dominant piece here. So these thought forms, we'll just call them thought forms. The Muslim mystics call them muwakkas. The Western mystics call them elementals, because they're made of the elements. They have fire, they have water in terms of vibration. Now, and whatever we send out comes back to us. It's like the old English saying, chickens come home to roost. We are responsible for every thought, every feeling we express. So when we express a negative, it goes out and it strikes on that person's aura and then comes back to us. Now, another factor of these thought forms is they build way more than just repeating it one time. They build exponentially. And Christ mentioned this. He said when an unclean spirit, that was the word they used for these thought forms back then, an unclean spirit, that's a negative thought form, goes out of someone, it goes out into arid places and wanders. And not finding rest, it returns home to the house of the one who created it. Now, house is a reference to the personality. And finding that house unguarded, it enters with 7 more of its own kind. Now just think about that. Every thought form comes back with 7 more. Every time you do it, 7 more. So they grow exponentially. And I think we've all had the experience where we just get tortured by these negative thoughts about other people. And that's because they keep increasing in number. And pretty soon they can crush the personality. Certainly they form habits, whether it's a repetition of drinking or drugging or smoking or whatever you want to call it. Whatever you do creates this repetition. And that increases the number of it. And it gets so strong it can overpower the personality. That's all an addiction is. And you keep doing it over and over, and pretty soon they become very crippling OCDs, obsessive compulsive disorders, or fixed ideas. You're just so certain that it's this way. You can't see anything else with what you've created. So we have to be very, very careful of these thought forms, because they will come to determine whether your life's happy or not. And certainly they determine whether we have a good meditation. Now, applying what I just said to meditation, what we're doing is creating a thought form, a group thought form, because the whole meditation is a group thought form made out of subcomponents, little thought forms. The thought form of the blue sphere, the thought form of the pink sphere. All those are components of this great group elemental we're calling this meditation. So when we bring it out and we repeat it every day, we're building a very, very positive, beneficial thought form that improves us, that makes us feel better. So with all this in mind, let's do our meditation now, and let's consciously understand what we're doing. We're building something with great power and purpose, something to uplift our awareness and raise our consciousness. Let's begin now.